You can make voice AI sound pretty good already. So good in fact that sometimes it's hard to tell if you're speaking with a robot or a machine, but only if you know the right hints and tricks. In today's video, I'm going to show you how you can level up your voice AI in Vapi to make it sound like you're speaking with an actual human. I'm Dec, welcome to the channel. I've spent 9 years working in automation and AI, and so on this channel we're looking at ways you can elevate the customer experience with automation and AI tech. If that sounds like your bag, make yourself at home. You're one of us. I'm going to talk you through picking the right voice, prompt engineering, and the general settings to make it sound better. I'm going to be using Vapi as it's my tool of choice, as I like the latency, that's the speed, and the flexibility of the platform. But these tips apply to any voice system that you're using. And the good news is that these steps are easy to follow along with. Okay, so if we open up Vapi and then we go here and click onto this voice tab, you can see that we're now in the voice setting part of Vapi. Now 11 Labs, I think, is probably one of the best providers around at the moment, and it's got the best and most realistic sounding voice library. So that's typically the one that I go for and use. In terms of the voices, you can see over here on the left, when you click down the drop down, we've got lots of different options of who to pick, and you can kind of have a play around here and see which ones you like. I guess it's worth probably pointing out that over here on the left hand side as well, we've got voice library. So if we go into here with 11 Labs, you can also try them all out here without having to run your model or your system that you've created. So if we think, I don't know, let's try Jin. Click Jin.
The heart has its reasons, which reason knows not all.
And you can hear and see what it sounds like there as well. So that's a nice handy tip. So the good thing with 11 Labs is not only has it got a great natural sounding voice library with lots of different accents that you can choose from, if you actually go over into 11 Labs, which is, you can see here, click into voices and then click this add generative or cloned voice, you're able to create a clone of your own voice. It won't let you do anyone else's, because what you have to do is upload a sample of your own voice and then read something else as a kind of a security feature so that it knows that it's your voice and not somebody else's. But if you want to create a clone of your own voice, that's how you do it. And it sounds pretty realistic. Now there is a downside with 11 Labs, which I should probably mention. So I think it's one of the best voice providers, but the caveat to that is it's probably one of the most expensive. So you can see we've got 11 Labs selected at the moment, and the cost is 18 cents per minute in Vapi. If we say move that across to Azure, the cost goes down to 12 cents. So if you're being really price sensitive, or you're working with a client, or you yourself need to manage your costs a little bit, that's obviously something to be aware of. I don't think they're quite as good, if I'm honest, but they're not bad. So depending on your use case and what you're trying to do, maybe 11 Labs is right, or maybe you want to go with one of the other providers. So let's try out some of the different ones. So we are going to select Ali. So select Ali, click publish, and then let's see what Ali sounds like.
Hello, this is Alice. I am Declan, Kirk's AI virtual assistant. You're calling this number because you said you have a project where you could be interested in working with that. Can I start by...
So I'm going to stop it there. So that's obviously, it's got quite a strong accent, but it sounded relatively realistic, I think. But let's try a different one and see. Let's go with Emma female. I've got no idea what the accent is going to be on this one, but let's see what Emma sounds like.
Hello, this is Alice. I'm Declan, Kirk's AI virtual assistant. You're calling this number because you said you have a project where you could be interested in working with Declan. Can I start by taking your name?
So again, so that's Emma and Azure. So it sounds relatively realistic, I think. But maybe I don't think it's quite as good as 11 Labs. But yeah, but it's definitely cheaper. So that's worth having a look at. And so really it's down to you to kind of have a play around with that and see which one is right for you and your specific use case or scenario. So once we've selected the voice, we can now scroll down, and we've got some other bits that we can play around with, and just to kind of make the voice sound a little bit more realistic, or kind of to tailor it further. So we've got, and you can see here we've got background sound. If we click the drop down, we can click office, and then it sounds like someone's in an office. You can hear a bit of kind of background, kind of hubbub and kind of people typing on keyboards. You've got default and you've got off as well. Default just kind of gives it a little bit more kind of depth to the background sound. I've heard that they're actually going to start soon. You'll be able to upload your own .mp3 files. So if you've got a particular soundscape or something you want to add, you can do that. But I think that's something to come with Vapi. That's not here at the moment. So yeah, so you can select those different bits there. Let's go with default for this one at the moment. If we scroll down, you can see we've got some more options. So there's filler injection, and you can either enable that or leave it disabled. If I click that and enable it, what that means is that the voice will then start to add filler words such as and R and those types of things. To try and make it feel less robotic, and it kind of changes the pace in which it's talking a little bit more. So that's something to play around with. You can also enable or disable back channeling. which, as you can see here in the description, is where it says things like and ah if you're using it or not. And then one that I always think is really good to keep on, just because especially if someone makes a phone call in a noisy environment. I'm showing this to people in a pub or out somewhere where there's a lot of noise. Sometimes Vapi can actually think the background noise or people speaking in the background is the person speaking to it directly. So if you switch that on, that takes out some of that background noise and just can help make that conversation a bit smoother. So it's something else to be aware of and have a play around with. Which brings us on to prompt engineering. Now, the system prompt that you put into Vapi or the voice agent that you're using is really, really important. If you're not familiar with the concepts of prompt engineering or the technique on how to make your prompt engineering good, I actually made a beginner's guide, which you should be able to watch up here, which I highly recommend you watch because it'll level up your builds, not just with Vapi, but with any kind of AI projects that you're working on. So like I say, prompting is really important to get right. I'll put a link down in the description, which will take you to this page that I'm showing on the screen. But effectively, what we've got here is Vapi have provided some different guides that you could potentially use as part of your Vapi prompts. Now, as you can see, Vapi have actually made some suggestions in their documentation on how you should actually write and create your system prompts. And they've also given you some templates that you can use and then obviously tailor to your own specific use case or scenario. Interestingly, if we scroll down to the bottom here under some common issues, the second one is how can we make the assistant sound more human-like? And as you can see, they recommend that you add a tone section where you talk around the conversation and the way and some of the phrases that it uses, and also using an act as feature where you tell it to act as a person or a persona, and you also kind of give an overview of who that person or persona is and how they think and act. If you found this video useful and you want to find out everything you need to know about voice AI, then I highly recommend you watch my beginner's guide to voice AI here. Thanks, and I'll see you there. Peace!